I found the mask in a cedar box beneath my grandmother's bed, wrapped in yellowed lace that smelled of dust and something faintly sweet, like flowers left too long in a sealed room. It was porcelain, pale as bone, with delicate gold filigree curling around the eyes. The lips were painted a soft, knowing red. It wasn't grotesque, it wasn't monstrous, it was beautiful. And that was the first wrong thing about it. My grandmother had been a quiet woman, the sort who never raised her voice but could end a conversation with a look. At her funeral, people said she had always seemed composed, controlled. Graceful, they called her. They never said happy. I turned the mask over in my hands. The inside was smooth and cool, the edges lined with something dark and velvety. There were no straps, no ties, just a curved shape that seemed to wait. On the inside, etched in tiny letters along the rim, were the words, "Wear me when you must." I don't know why I brought it home. I told myself it was sentimental, a relic, something to remember her by. But even as I placed it on my bedroom dresser, I felt as though I had carried something alive across the threshold. That night, I dreamed of her standing at the foot of my bed, her face hidden behind porcelain. In the morning, I woke with the urge to try it on. I laughed at myself. I was 27 years old, not a child playing dress-up. Still, curiosity has a way of rotting reason from the inside out. I lifted the mask and pressed it gently to my face. It was cold at first, then warm, then it softened. The edges seemed to melt against my skin, sealing perfectly along my cheeks and brow. The velvet lining tightened, not painfully, but firmly, as though adjusting to me. I gasped and reached up to pull it off. My fingers slid over porcelain. There were no seams. I stumbled to the mirror. The mask stared back at me, flawless and serene. My eyes peered through its golden-rimmed openings, but they didn't look like mine. They looked calmer, deeper, as if something behind them had exhaled for the first time in years. I tried again to remove it, digging my nails into the edge near my jaw. Nothing budged. Then, as I watched, the porcelain shifted. Not much, just enough to mirror the shape of my mouth as I spoke. "Take it off," I whispered. The lips curved in a gentle smile. I felt the smile on my real mouth, too. Panic bloomed in my chest, but it was distant, muted, as though cushioned behind glass. The mask felt right, natural, like it had always belonged there. The mask fit too well. The thought wasn't mine. Or maybe it was. I wore it to work that day, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't remove it. I tried everything before leaving the apartment: soap, warm water, even a butter knife to pry at the edges. The porcelain remained smooth and unbroken. When I stepped outside, no one screamed, no one stared. My neighbor, Mrs. Klein, smiled at me, as she always did. "You look lovely today." Lovely. At the office, my boss complimented my composure during a tense meeting. A coworker who usually ignored me invited me to lunch. Conversations flowed easily. My voice sounded softer, steadier, witty even. It was as if the mask didn't just cover my face, it edited me. I realized slowly and with a creeping horror that I had been wearing a different kind of mask for years. The polite nods, the practiced laughter, the careful swallowing of anger. This one just made it seamless. At home that evening, I stood before the mirror again. The porcelain reflected candlelight in a warm glow. It was beautiful. "I don't need you," I told it. The lips didn't move this time, but I felt something shift beneath my skin. The next morning when I woke, I couldn't feel the mask. I rushed to the mirror. My face looked bare. Relief flooded me so fast I nearly collapsed. But when I touched my cheeks, they were too smooth, my brow too still, my lips curved slightly upward even when I wasn't smiling. I tried to frown. The expression felt foreign, strained, like forcing a limb that had healed wrong. I went to the bathroom and locked the door. Staring into the harsh light, I searched for the faint line where porcelain might meet flesh. There was none. I pressed my fingernail into my cheek. It didn't dent the way skin should. A sharp, brittle sound echoed in my skull. Tap, tap, tap. I recoiled. The surface of my face was no longer skin. It was porcelain. Panic came again, but faint, like an echo of something I used to feel. I tried to scream. What came out was a soft, measured breath. That was when I understood. The mask had not attached itself to me. It had replaced me. Days passed, or maybe weeks. Time felt distant, irrelevant. I functioned perfectly, better than perfectly. People responded to me with warmth, admiration. They trusted me, confided in me. They never saw the thin cracks forming at the corners of my vision. At night, I began to hear it, a voice from somewhere behind the porcelain. It sounded like me, but rawer, messier, afraid. "Let me out!" The words scratched against the inside of my skull. "You don't need me anymore," the mask seemed to reply. "I'm better at this." In dreams, I saw my real face suspended in darkness, pale and blinking, hands pressed against a smooth inner surface. I tried to reach back. My fingers passed through air. One evening, while washing my hands, I noticed a hairline fracture along my jaw, just a sliver, almost invisible. Relief surged through me. Maybe it could break. Maybe I could shatter it. I gripped the edge of the sink and slammed my face forward. The impact rang like a bell. Pain exploded, not sharp, but spreading and hollow. I fell to the floor, vision swimming. When it cleared, I crawled to the mirror. The crack had widened. Through it, I could see something wet and red beneath. My eye. It was watching me from inside. Not calm, not composed, terrified. "Help me," it mouthed. For a moment, I felt the full force of my fear, the weight of every swallowed word, every forced smile, the years of compressing myself into something acceptable. The mask trembled. Another crack split across my cheek. I screamed, and this time it was loud. The porcelain splintered, fragments slicing into the air like shards of frozen light. I clawed at my face as pieces fell away, revealing flesh beneath, bleeding, raw, alive. I collapsed, sobbing, surrounded by broken white fragments. When I finally dared to look up, the mirror showed my own face, streaked with tears, eyes wild, mouth twisted in grief. Ugly, human, free. Behind me, on the bathroom tiles, the largest shard of porcelain lay still intact. In it, I could see the mask's serene expression, staring up at the ceiling, unbroken, waiting. As I watched, the shard pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, and somewhere deep inside my chest, in a place that felt too still and too smooth, I wondered if I had truly removed it, or if it had simply learned to fit somewhere deeper. It started after midnight when the city fell quiet, and even my own breathing sounded too loud. I turned off the TV, the lights, my phone, seeking peace. The silence settled in, thick and heavy, pressing against my ears. Then I thought, is anyone there? The silence shifted. Not sound, not words, something else, a pressure, a presence. My chest tightened as the quiet seemed to lean closer, listening to me. I tried to laugh it off, but my next thought wasn't mine. We've always been here. The walls felt nearer. The clock stopped ticking. Every unspoken fear I had rose to the surface, reflected back at me by the stillness itself. I covered my ears, but silence isn't something you can shut out. Now I keep noise around me at all times, music, voices, static, because I've learned the truth. When everything goes quiet, something listens, and sometimes It replies,